Okay, game just ended. They're showing the highlights. We're going to talk about it. Zach literally just texted me. He is still texting me. He said, okay, this is the epitome of the Steelers. You ready for this? This is Zach, a Steelers fan, texting me. He said, once again, game ends. I'm not sure how to feel. IDK, I hate my life, hate this team, but at the same time, love my life and love this team. Okay, man, I also don't know how to feel. And I'm going to say this right off the bat. You know what? You're not going to hear anything from me in this video. You're not going to hear anything. I need to turn off that light. Hold on. We don't cut in these. So this light, you don't need, this is no cut. There we go. Okay. Much better. No, the one thing you guys are not going to hear me complain about in this video, you're not going to hear me complain about Matt Canada. I'm going to give the man his flowers. He called a hell of a game. I'm serious. I am 100% serious. That opening drive was very well, not only called and well executed, not only well called, but well executed. And I honestly think this entire game, there was only maybe one or two play calls I kind of disagreed with. I know it was the Steelers fans were booing on 3rd and 10 when we ran an inside zone, but I like that play call because you're making them use a timeout, and their offense had put up one touchdown, and they needed another one to win the game. So Matt Canada honestly called a hell of a game. And at this point, I texted Zach. I said, I'm rooting for Matt Canada at this point. Maybe not to get extended, but to kind of just prove everyone wrong at the end of this season and maybe still like have a job in the NFL, just not with this team. But, yeah, I got to give him his flowers, man. He called a hell of a game, and I'm not going to complain about any of his play calls. That's that. What I will complain about, though, is some people who are executing those play calls. One in particular, someone that I have not really complained about, and someone I've kind of made a lot of, not excuses for, but kind of some excuses for, and that's Kenny Pickett, man. Kenny, part of me wants to just say like it was his ribs, but I feel like I'm just giving him an excuse. But at the same time, Kenny's never really been known in his NFL career so far as having accuracy issues. And in this game, he was having accuracy issues, man. There was a 3rd and 7 in the first quarter. It was you had Pickens coming across the middle, and Kenny missed him. And that was a probably at least 10 to 15-yard gain. There was a throw to Allen Robinson. Kenny threw it a little too low for Allen to go and grab it. And there was even the touchdown for George. That was actually on George. That's a rare George miss. But I'm also not going to talk negatively about George because when he's involved, he's great. When he's involved, I got to see how many times Kenny threw the ball in this game because all of it went to Deontay, man. Like for wallet winners this week on the podcast, I had Deontay 4.5 receptions. I had the over on that, which is like easy money. Let's see. Deontay in this game had 9 targets. He had 7 receptions. So, yeah, Deontay is going to get most of the targets on this team. But looking at it, Kenny threw the ball 30 times. And, I mean, yeah, George was targeted 5, but that's just not enough. I think if you want to have success on this team in the passing game, you have to target Deontay 10 times, and you have to target George at least 10 times. And stop putting George on only go routes, man. It's so annoying. That's that. But, yeah, Kenny was the main struggle of this offense. Najee looked really good in this game. Jaylen Warren, man. They deserve to just give him that touchdown. Like, there's got to be a rule. If you're down at the quarter-yard line, just give him the touchdown. But he did step out. So, but, yeah, no, the offense was operating on every single level except for the passing game and mainly the quarterbacking game. There were, like, 1 or 2 drops. Like, Najee had a drop and Deontay had a drop there. But, like, I don't know, man. I texted Zach. So this is the first time I've ever questioned, like, is Kenny the future of this team? And I don't know. I think he is. I still want to see what Kenny looks like with a different coordinator. Because here's Bleacher Report. Steelers fans are split on Pickett. I need to see him in a different system first. So I'm not going to get out on him. But this game, if there's the biggest negative take out of it, second biggest, I'll talk about the third biggest. There's 2 bigger. Third biggest negative out of this is Kenny's performance in this game. Next. This is the biggest issue, in my opinion, for this game. Not for the team, for this game. And the last 3 games. The officiating Oh my God. Again, this is something else I was talking to Zach about. This officiating crew literally already has like a rep. I saw a tweet. It was by... So I'm so sorry. I should have been prepared, but I was too busy stressing about this game. It was by Dale Lawley at DLawleyPGH. John Hussey's crew will work Steelers Titans Thursday night. They averaged 13.71 penalties per game, sixth most by crew this season. This crew also worked the 25 penalty game. 25 penalties. 25 penalty game, 49ers Browns debacle a couple of weeks ago. And this game was horribly officiated. Oh my God. First quarter, it was all against Steelers. Like, the Steelers, they said a stat, the Steelers had averaged 45 penalty yards a game, and on the first drive, we got more than 50 yards penalties, and almost more than half of them were shit. There was one that I remember, I don't remember the exact one, but there was one that the entire stadium booed, and I was like, no, that one's fair. But everything else, and then even on the last drive, that holding call on Joey Porter, it was not a good call. I think that Hopkins was not getting flagged. I think Hopkins should have been getting flagged because he was using his hands a lot, like a lot. So yeah, there was that. Also, like, refs are just never going to call roughing the passer on Kenny. Apparently, this is the first time I've ever seen it, really. But there was a play early in the game where he got hit. There was a couple plays in the last game before he even went out, where he was, or even the play he went out last game, he got roughed. So, and even the Titans weren't getting good calls too. I'll be honest, the roughing the passer that was called in Will Levis, that was a bullshit call. Like, this was just a horribly officiated game, and I really don't care if the NFL goes to like AI or robotic officials, because this shit is horrible. Or at least go to I don't care if it slows the game down, reviewable penalties, because it's costing teams not only like plays and downs, it's costing momentum, and at the end of the day, it's costing games and wins and losses. Next, now this is the biggest issue for this game for the Steelers, in my opinion, and it's something that we've been talking about all season: the secondary. This is why everyone was pining for the Steelers to make a trade for a defensive back, mainly a corner. And you know what? I'll give Omar Khan some credit. Oh, there's our boy. There's Kenny. I wonder what he's saying. I'll rewind and watch it. But I'll give Omar Khan some credit because reports came out that we had the strongest offer for the Bears, Jalen Johnson. It sounded like it was a third and a fifth or a sixth, but the Bears wanted a second. And Omar Khan wasn't willing to give that up, which, if you're playing Madden, you're going to give up a second pick because Madden, nothing happens in those 6 through 7 rounds, essentially, or 2 through 7 rounds, essentially. But in the NFL, you have a lot of good players who come out of the second round. Joey Porter Jr., who has been the best defensive back on this team, not named Minkah Fitzpatrick. He just locked down DeAndre Hopkins, a rookie who was on a stupid-ass snap count for some reason for the first half of the season. Locked down future Hall of Famer DeAndre Hopkins. I don't want to hear that Hopkins is washed, because he's not. You can't have a 3-touchdown game for over 120 yards like he did last week and be washed. Joey Porter deserves that. I will say there were certain... Oh, God. No. Okay. Steelers football is great, right? We love respecting Steelers football because they have this history. Why does Steelers football always have a history of putting a linebacker on a fucking wide receiver? And it's always the number one wide receiver. We had 3 times in this game that I can remember off the top of my head where we had a linebacker on D-Hop. I think D-Hop had 4 receptions. I am 99% sure 3 of those came against linebackers. Speaking of linebackers, Cole Holcomb went out. I saw the replay, or they didn't show a replay, but I saw it on Twitter. And he's out for the rest of the season. His leg snapped. So that's a real bummer. I think he was our best linebacker in this entire unit, and he's also great for man coverage against tight ends and running backs. And he's going to be missed. He was missed in this game, especially for that first half, because there was so much miscommunication, and he was wearing that green dot when once Minkah had gone out. And this team Minkah is the biggest missing piece, you can tell. The secondary had no idea what they were doing I'm not even kidding, aside from Joey Porter. The coverage was busted every single, we couldn't afford to run zone, and even when we would run man, there was a breakdown. It reminded me a lot of the Travis Etienne play last week. But I mean, it's crazy how good the defensive rush is, or the defensive front is, and how good the rush is for this defense, because without them, this defense is allowing 30 points a game every single week. But they're able to get enough pressure on the quarterbacks that they play that they're able to at least cover up most of the issues that the secondary has. But this is why you need to trade for a corner, because you can't just have one corner. Like what happens when you're going to play a team like the Dolphins, who have two phenomenal wide receivers, or the team like the Bengals, who have two phenomenal wide receivers, or the Vikings, who have two phenomenal wide receivers. Like you can't, or even if you play the Steelers, like if the Steelers defense were to play the Steelers offense, on paper, the Steelers pass game would shred the secondary, but we all know that wouldn't happen. So those are most of my takeaways. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can think about. I will say I still am not enjoying Steelers games, but they are entertaining. Like, my heart is always pumping at the end of these games. But I want to enjoy a Steelers game because we put up 20 points. We had 2 touchdowns. We had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown. Okay, that's another thing. Yeah. That's another thing that makes me kind of question Kenny Pickett a little bit is I think to a certain point, horrible play calling up until the last 2 weeks. I think this week and last week were actually really good play calling by Matt Canada. And my cat is on top of the fridge. What are you doing? But I think even bad play calling, you can get even like mediocre quarterbacks with bad play calling have great games, like Desmond Ridder a couple weeks ago. Like, it's possible to have a 3-touchdown game or a 4-touchdown game, and Kenny has his most in the game is 2. So, I just want to see our offense finally do something. I would love that. We actually, for the podcast that comes out tomorrow, we have a really funny cold open talking to our past selves, if you guys remember that old episode. And our past selves asked about the Steelers, and me and Zach told them exactly what they wanted to know, and it wasn't what we were expecting, I'm sure, in the past. Yeah, nothing else really I want to talk about. Props to Matt Canada, something I never thought I would say this season, but he called a good game, I'm not going to lie. It's just the execution by Kenny on this game kind of hurt us, which sucks, and also we needed a cornerback, and the Steelers' way is going to end up haunting this team in the future. 5-3, but this is a team that 4 wins is going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. I'm not going to lie to you guys. We have, 5-3, it's 8 games, 17-game season. So we have 9 games left. So we have to win less than 500 of our games remaining, and that seems like a chore, in my opinion. So 9-8 is probably bound to happen, but I'll be there for all of them. At least I get a long weekend where I don't have to stress about the Steelers on Sunday. Shout out to Deontay. Oh, my God, I didn't talk about Deontay. Hey, first touchdown in 122 receptions, was it? I audibly leaped up from my couch. I wasn't even that happy about the touchdown because that's just where I am with the Steelers at this point. But I was happy for Deontay. I was like, let's go. Deontay finally got his touchdown. And he's been balling out. Deontay, I will say, he gets the targets because he is creating separation. He is a phenomenal wide receiver. I'm not saying like he doesn't deserve those targets. I'm just saying we need to divvy up those targets a little better. Halfway through the season, we have not changed a bit. That's not a good sign, guys. This team, in the last 2 weeks, play calling has been better. But other than that, we look very stagnant. I'm hoping that's just because of Kenny's injury. But I don't know. It might be time for me to stop making excuses for myself and for Kenny about his play. Let me know what you guys think. Doesn't even feel like a win. Look how, like, dejected I am. Like, you'd think I'd be happy about this, but I'm just like, meh. Anyways, you guys know how I end these episodes.